Hello, greatest human being, it's Miss Bubbles. I've been screaming about my excitement for Visions of Mana, and now we finally have the truth. I got to not only play it early, thanks to Square Enix sharing a review code with me, but I also finished it and I have a lot to say, and together we're gonna figure out if the game is worth the hype. So is it gonna be a buy or a skip for you?
Help us out! Hit next!
Try to stay warm, okay?
And we're starting with the presentation and performance here because we have a lot to go over, both good and not so great. The visuals in Visions of Mana are absolutely stunning. With every chapter, you'll find yourself immersed in a new biome, from ones that are simple like a snowy biome, jungle or desert, to more complex areas that are absolutely magical, and they're an absolute visual treat to look at. Some of the places you'll visit feel as if you're watching a Disney movie, and it's just gonna give you such nostalgic feelings. You'll have a world map to guide you, as well as a mini map that's active at all times, which makes tracking things easy. And to embrace the world and the different nooks and crannies, as well as invite you to explore, the game spreads treasures that are easy to find through the mini map, and then some other things to collect, which we're gonna talk more about in the gameplay section. Each biome comes with its own set of monsters, which correspond to different elements, and I found the monsters varied enough and were fun to take down. In the visuals segment, with a 4070 Ti and Ryzen 7 CPU, a rig that lets me play plenty of RPGs and life sim games at high to ultra settings, the game was suffering from a lot of pop-in that got really severe at times, as you can see on the screen. And even though I used the settings that Square Enix recommended for me to use, the pop-in was getting out of hand at times, especially when I was outside of the town and in bigger areas. You have voice acting, which is very cute. It escapes the tone of, let's say, a cast from Final Fantasy 16 would use, and it's more so of like a cutesy teenager kind of show, or like, again, just feels like Disney. Cutscenes are all voice acted, whereas side quests are silent, so you're gonna be reading dialogue instead. In combat and while collecting stuff, characters will use the same 2 or 3 lines, and it can get very annoying and tedious to hear them, especially when you're also buying stuff at a shop and I'm like, bro, can you please let me shop in peace? They would just repeat the same line over and over again, so it was very annoying to sit through.
Got some syrup. Yes. Let me see. Nice. Yes. Let me see. Is this? Yes. Let me see. Nice.
Whereas sound effects are well done and they have different interactions that just feel very satisfying, so they weren't as repetitive as some of the dialogue when I'm shopping or in battlefield or engaging in combat. As for the music, I have to say it's absolutely amazing. It's very magical, very whimsical. I feel like Square Enix always does a great job with music in general. I've never had like a game where I felt like, ugh, what is this? So this is Square Enix standard over here. Very good music where I just felt like I can't wait to see what the next OST is gonna be like, and not once did I even find myself scrolling down the music, which is something that I tend to do a lot if something is just repetitive. The UI is handsome, as we refer to it on this channel, and I think it keeps the essence of that in Trials of Mana, while making it a bit more modern and easy to navigate. Now, I refer to Trials of Mana because that's the only one that I played in the franchise. Now, this segment was hefty because I had a lot to say, a lot of praise, but also a lot of annoyances. But now I want to tell you a bit about the story while keeping it spoiler-free.
These are my friends.
Friends? I see.
Are you injured, sir?
If you're wondering, you don't need any previous knowledge of the previous games. This is a new story, it's standalone, and the cast of characters are all new. You have a roster of 5 characters to play as, and the lead character is called Val, who's a soul guard. So basically, the initial mission is for you to guide the alms to the mana tree. But things are not that simple. As you're going from town to town to find more alms to guide, things get out of hand, they get a bit complicated, and a big overarching storyline unfolds, and I was hooked. I found myself smiling, crying, in tears, angry, surprised, and yes, some places I felt like, yeah, I expected the story to go that way. Other times I was completely shook. I was like, what is how? What do you mean? Like, what is happening right now? Can we calm down a bit? And I had to pause and just collect my thoughts, and this like game just was playing on my heartstrings the whole time. And if you like love stories, this is definitely the one for you, because this is all about friendships and love and, you know, finding out more about yourself and seeing these teenagers grow up and change the way that they behave on their mission to get to the mana tree. So it was just a journey that I had a really good time exploring. And as we're talking about the story, we have to talk about the characters, which is what this game is all about. They're all unique and fun to meet. You have Val, whose main class is a guard. Then you have Karina, Morley, Palomina, and Jule. Each has their own starting class, and as you play, you're gonna unlock elemental vessels, which can be appointed to different characters to change the style they fight in. These vessels don't get you the same class for all characters. So for example, Val, he usually uses a small sword, a great sword, or a lance, whereas Morley, he usually uses a cane, knives, or katanas. Then you have Jule, who's using things like umbrellas, a wand, and sometimes a hammer. So when you equip your character with an elemental vessel, they will use one of these main weapons and adapt the way they fight. And you know, it's very fun to explore the different classes, but keep in mind that each vessel can be equipped by only one character, and I think that is a great choice to have because these vessels are powerful against certain elements, so your party remains balanced, varied, and ready to take on different enemies. I also love how each time you initially equip a vessel, you're gonna watch each character transform into a sick armor set, and not once did I want to skip the scene. So I always love to see what new outfit each character is gonna wear, and they all look very different. And also Morley, he gave me a lot of Ni no Kuni 2 vibes. I feel like he looks a lot like Evan, even though not really, but let me know what you think. And with that being said, I want to know which character are you most excited to play? Now this all leads up to the combat, which is the meat and potatoes of Visions of Mana. I liked a lot of things, but I also had a few gripes with some of the stuff, so let's get into it. Your party can have 3 of the 5 characters active at a time, and the game lets you choose your difficulty level between beginner, easy, normal, and hard. You can change the difficulty level at any time you want. Characters have basic attacks like strike, they can dodge out of enemies' way, they can jump to attack aerial monsters, and then they build up something called CS, which lets them unleash class strikes, which does a lot of damage to the enemy. So what's CS? Basically, this is gathered by doing damage to the enemy or by getting hit yourself, and it's shared across the characters. The essence of combat is using the different vessels you unlock to find ones that your enemy is weak to, and the game makes it easy to know if the enemy is resistant, weak, or immune to your vessel by showing you these icons above the enemy's head. Enemies can also leave status effects on you, and I find some of them very funny, but they are also very annoying if you get exposed to them. So you might get shrinked, you might get frozen, you might turn into stone, you might turn into freaking plushie. So you have to be careful and make sure that you try and get rid of any status ailments as quickly as possible. But I feel like these are enough of an incentive to encourage you to try different elemental vessels and different abilities, which we're gonna get into in a second. At the end of battle, you'll get XP bonuses, and you see the results and level up stats. With the semi-open world, you'll find yourself running into some enemies at much higher levels than you, but I love how this adds to the immersion, and also the game is not trying to hold your hand all the time. So if you go and end up with a, level 53 enemy and you're still at level 2, that's your problem, and you're the one who's gonna have to deal with it. I also want to say, I am so happy that there are no random encounters in this JRPG, and we also have dungeons, but they're very easy to navigate, and even though they have some puzzles, I did not find myself lost. Like, if I found myself lost a little bit, the minimap was so useful and so helpful, so I always managed to get myself out of sticky situations. To add an extra layer to the combat, you have what's called ability seeds, which you gather by defeating enemies or by unlocking chests. So these improve your character stats, and they give you some sick new moves. And it doesn't stop there. You have an elemental plot which you can use to advance your character's vessel skills, so it's kind of like a skill tree, and each vessel gives you a wide range of abilities, but you have to unlock them consecutively rather than choose what you want from each tree. Now, we spoke about the combat in general as well as things that I like, but let's talk about the gripes here. The first one is the camera. It is so annoying. Even when you try to lock onto enemies, the camera was all over the the place, especially when I was doing trials. It would just zoom out for no reason, then zoom back in, and with everything going on the screen, it was so hard to keep track of things. Also, combat is a bit clunky. If you played the demo and you had an issue with that, the combat is clunky in general. I feel like, and based on people's feedback who played other Mana games, they all said that this is part of the series. So let me know if you've played any of the previous games, if you felt the same. I remember Trials of Mana was very clunky as well, and this is definitely improved on that, but it's still very clunky. And I also had an issue with the ring menu, which is back from the Trails of Mana. I'm personally not a fan. I prefer having an easier time accessing my items. So for example, the shortcut that you can access with the LB button on your Xbox controller, it has more traversal options, whereas RB has some elemental vessel abilities. Then you have your action ring, which is accessed by clicking left or right on the D-pad. These are used to move between your items and your moves. I don't know why, I just couldn't memorize the buttons for the life of me. I was getting overwhelmed all the time. I was always clicking the wrong button and just having a bad time with it overall. So what else? We're gonna get into the fun factor, but if you're enjoying this video, make sure to squish the like and subscribe buttons because I have a tips video for Visions of Mana coming up tomorrow. I have 30 tips for you to help you on your journey, but if you also love RPGs, I have plenty of content coming for you. So let's talk about some of the fun factor elements here when exploring the world and also in combat. Combat-wise, you're gonna stumble across Valor Flies, which make enemies more ferocious, but you double the amount of XP you gain. You will also see nemesis, which are considerably stronger than normal monsters, and you have trials which are timed and can give you a valuable reward. I'll also show you a quick sneak peek at the vessels. They all have an ability tied to them that can be used. For instance, the moon vessel lets you slow down time, whereas the water vessel is gonna give you a water gun and it traps enemies inside, and these kind of abilities are excellent for crowd control. These vessels are also used for exploration, so you can reach areas that were blocked before, and discovering them was really fun. In the world overall, you'll have towns to visit to buy gear, armors, and items, so you're always gonna be stocked up and getting stronger. And if you're lost, you can press LB and Y to summon a trail of light to guide you. This came in handy a lot. You also have grizzly syrup to gather and then redeem at the Dud Bear shop for items. The Dud Bears are so cute. They even have like their own dictionary, which is so funny. You'll also unlock special shops to exchange Nicolo coins for rare ability seeds, and saving the game is through these Christmas looking trees. I'm usually not a fan of having to go to a checkpoint to save stuff, but the game is very generous with the amount of trees that they provide you, or they're called meridians, I believe. So I did not mind it because every 5 to 10 minutes I knew that I'm gonna get a lot of replenished XP and mana points and all of that, and I'm gonna get to save. Also, yes, the Pickles are as cute as the trailers showed. They're these wolf-like creatures that you can ride and explore the world. They're very adorable, and unlocking them made traversal a lot easier. And you're also eventually going to unlock other forms of transportation, but I'm not going to tell you what these are because this is a spoiler-free review and I want you to discover things for yourself. But yeah, you do have 2 other options to explore the world. You also have a lot of side quests to unlock, but to be honest, not a single one interested me, even though the game recommends that you complete them, especially if you're running short on different items and like Nicolo coins and stuff. I'm someone who's known to love side quests in RPGs. That's why I feel like, I don't know, let me know what you think, but I feel like Western RPGs are so much better with their side quests. They're, I feel like, even worse than Final Fantasy XVI side quests. They were just boring and I was not interested in them at all, so I skipped them. We talked about the good and the bad, but is Visions of Mana gonna be the one for you? Visions of Mana is for you if you love a love story, if you love exploring a wide range of classes with a game that pushes you to experiment with them. It's for you if you want a 25 to about like 35-hour JRPG, and if you don't like a grindfest of a game. In my tips video, I will show you exactly how to make the game easier to level up, and I feel like it's for you if you love exploring a beautiful game with cartoonsy visuals visuals that are so cute. However, Visions of Mana is not going to be for you if you don't enjoy love stories like I do, if clunky combat puts you off, if you don't appreciate more cartoony visuals, and if you don't like games that force you into changing your class and party members frequently. As for me, I had an absolute blast playing Visions of Mana. Y'all know that I've been so excited for it with Fantasy Life, which sadly got delayed, and then also Metaphor Refantasio. So this was one of the 3 most anticipated JRPGs for me this year. I'm so glad that I got to play it early, and I found myself playing the game any spare time that I had. It's the only thing that I wanted to do. Even though the combat is clunky, we had a lot of pop-in that I had to sit through. Some of the repetitive like dialogue or things that the characters do during exploration and combat is annoying to hear. I feel like the story kept me coming back until I saw the finale. With this in mind, are you buying Visions of Mana? And if you're interested in the tips video, it will be live tomorrow, so I will leave it for you in the pinned comment. Thank you to my YouTube and Patreon bubblies for making videos like this possible. We have so many new members. I'm so happy that you're enjoying your new perks. And special shout out goes to the Game Dimension, Jake, Logan, and Stephanie for going the extra mile. Until next time, stay bubbly.